Hello, and thank you for joining us at Experience 2020. My name is Eleanor McClett, and I'm the Manager of Economic Development for the town of Canmore and on the Board of Directors for Economic Development. And we're so happy that you could be with us. Today's session is about making a feature film in Alberta, the trials and tribulations. This is a great opportunity for you to learn what the film industry could mean for your community and things that you might want to consider in that decision-making process. I want to give a big thank you to Calgary Economic Development for sponsoring today's session. And I would like to ask Luke Azevedo to come and say a few words on behalf of Calgary Economic Development, the film industry in general, and to introduce the panelists today. Thank you very much, Luke.
Hi there, I'm Luke Azevedo. I'm Commissioner of Film, Television, and Creative Industries with Calgary Economic Development. And it is our pleasure to be sponsoring this event today. Today we're talking about making a feature film with some of our new up-and-coming talent here in Alberta, and we're very happy to be part of it. Alberta is the fourth largest shooting jurisdiction in Canada. With that comes a significant amount of work across our province, and much of it being done in the rural areas, not in the major cities. Within a 3-hour radius in this province, we have the Badlands, the mountains, the prairies, the foothills, and 2 municipalities of over 1 million people. Geographically speaking, that's very unique and attracts a lot of attention to our province. That, and with our crew base, the quality of our talent here, some of the best pictures ever made were done in Alberta. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Deidre Hackman, who will be facilitating the talk today. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm really happy to have with us today 4 of probably Alberta's best known and up-and-coming talents within the film and digital industry. Joining us today is Janice Carissa, Senior Vice President, Development, Junior Achievement of Northern Alberta. Janice has over a decade of fundraising community experience established with the Norquest College 1,000 Women, 1 Million Possibilities, and it goes on from there. She has organized Jordan Takes the Stage, an event that captured international media coverage and was rated one of top Alberta good news stories for 2016. Janice is the associate producer for the feature film They Who Surround Us and worked alongside international Emmy Award-winning producers. Janice is mother of 3 wonderful kids. She's currently residing in Hinton and joining us today in front of her lovely fireplace and grand piano. With me in the studio is Darsha Parada. An extraordinary combination, visionary storyteller, natural leader, award-winning director of live theater, known for cutting-edge, innovative interpretations of classic works, lauded by critics and audiences alike. As a performer, she's graced many stages in Europe and North America, and her vocal talents can be heard on soundtracks of numerous film scores and albums released on Decca and London labels. Her rendition of Puccini's Una Bella di Apers as a track on British disco King Jimmy Somerville's The Communards and a compilation record. Her film, Heritage Quarters, derived from oil painting, soundscape, opera singing, live action, and I'm going to let her talk about that a little bit later. Numerous awards, featured on ABC TV, CBC Television, ABC, City TV, Brooklyn Arts, News, Daily News, you name it, she's been in it. Roseanne Milliken, an award-winning producer known for TV series Breaker High, Ninja Turtles, Next Mutation, The New Addams Family, feature films Tucker and Dale versus Evil, goes on and on and on. Over 70 credits to her. She has won several awards, Audience Award at Sundance, and then Sight Skip City, Japan, Sony Awards, DCG Award for Excellence in Canadian Film Production, is also won the Jury Award for Fantasia Film Festival and Fangoria. Her latest film, They Who Surround Us, recently won the award at the EIFF. She's going to talk to us a little bit about that. Graduate of U of A, She has been a producer and in charge of over 50 films. I said 70 because I think there's probably an extra 20 she hasn't talked about. Her company, Ginormous Pictures, is focused on developing exciting scripts, literary gems that are commercially viable. And we're also going to talk about that. How do you make money in this industry? She and Ginormous Pictures are currently in pre-production Send Her My Love sci-fi thriller. And we're also going to be talking to somebody else that she's co-producing a amazing picture with, and his name is David Bond. David Bond, award-winning genre film writer and producer, member of CMPA, PGA, pending Producers Network of Cannes, Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. His career began with Cookers and American Crime, has gone on to oversee a reboot of The Boogeyman. Dark Elegy Films is his company. 70s style art house horror film Antrim, deadliest film ever made in the spring of 2020. Antrim has become #1 film on Amazon Prime, and we have him here with us today. So we're going to talk about that and really how has COVID pushed him into another place. And right now, currently bloodthirsty for Voice Pictures, part of Frontier's Buyer Showcase at Cannes 2020. Just now he sold some more of his projects, and I wanted him to go into that because he's got some exciting news and talking about it. He is also co-producing the Ginormous Pictures with Roseanne, as we mentioned, and Michelle Gomez, not from around here, with Fantastic Films of Ireland. He's doing another picture in Mexico City, and it goes on from there. So I wanted to start off with, I guess I'll briefly introduce who I am. My name's Deidre Hackman, and I spent the past 2 decades living and working in the US, Europe, and Asia. Most of my role has been in creative innovation, product design and development, and licensing. So I'm on the other side of the camera, looking at how we can take some of these products, turn them into consumer goods, and then license them out and sell them. So I've worked for companies Nike, Speedo, Victoria's Secret, Max, most recently Spider, and worked with the US ski team to develop an entire program with the Marvel superheroes. So we used that during the Olympics in Pyeongchang and went beyond there. I've now recently moved back to Edmonton, and just this summer was able to be a part of an amazing film that we filmed out in Vegreville called They Who Surround Us. So we're going to get right into it today. And I'm going to start with you, David. I want you to tell us about the last project you've done here in Alberta and what would have made it even better.
The last film I did was called Bloodthirsty. We filmed it in Edmonton at the last week of January and much of February of this year. Our biggest problem were having the support of the individual governments. Municipal government of Edmonton was great, but you know, that idea of having that strong commitment by the province, I would say,
Okay,
would
so
be our biggest.
when you say commitment, what do you mean by that?
In Alberta, film is kind of, especially if we're a non-American product, we're kind of put at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to fund, at least with the government funding agencies of the provincial government. And then
Roseanne. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, David. Finish.
I was just going to say,
David, go ahead.
It's just that there is a disconnect right now, at least at the provincial level, on what will be the future of film, how film will be, how the minister, which minister will actually even represent it. I mean, we've been now moved almost 3 times, and I would like that the ministry would probably have more consulting from people from inside the business, which we find that they don't.
Okay. And Roseanne, let's talk about your last project here in Alberta. And what do you think we were needing, you know, as a province to make that something better?
Absolutely, some of what David has touched on, knowing that the tax credits actually are in place and are guaranteed. And I know there was a transition with the new government from a production bonus kind of environment into a tax credit scenario. So hopefully that just stays in place, and it's structured so that it works to enable Canadian producers and enable interprovincial co-production and co-productions rather than have a focus on service production. So, in other provinces, you have, service production, and then you have Canadian production, and the tax credits for Canadian production are higher. And so they should be, because you're growing your Canadian industry and you're training Canadians, and Canadians own copyright on the projects. And so it should be a tiered system. And I think the guarantee of having that system in place is, extremely important. And it shouldn't be a first come, first serve situation. It should simply be a tax credit that exists. This is a huge, huge business. And in our situation, while we were shooting, the tax credit or the tax bonus scenario or production bonus scenario disappeared, and fortunately it came back. And the government has been, I find it is working quite well. I mean, we haven't accessed it yet, but I find that it's working relatively well, and there's interest in having it happen. The other problem we had was finding crew, obviously. We were shooting in a small town. It would have been good for, small towns to offer incentives as well. We did have the town we were shooting in provide numerous locations and permits for free, and people were very gracious shooting there. There obviously is an issue when you're shooting outside Calgary, for instance, because everything else is rural. I think there's a certain mentality that even if you're in Edmonton, it's not really the center. And I think that attitude has to change. So, having access to crew is a huge thing, obviously. And, for us, part of the problem was shooting in a small town. There are, it's very little crew there. I think maybe one or two people. Yeah, for me, lack of crew, if I would have known certain things like, going to NATE or to Grant McEwen or to Norquest and seeing who they had in their programs and adapting them into the film industry, that could have also been really helpful. But at the time, I wasn't familiar with the programs they had, or the fact that you could, upscale or side scale certain, courses, or, like even something like craft service first aid, that, there are programs in those schools where we could have actually grabbed people, from, and they were actually fairly well equipped, but we just didn't know that we could have that access, or where to have that access.
Okay. So Janice, when you were talking to the investors and trying to get them involved in these projects, what is it that you talk about, when it comes to projects being based here in Alberta, and how is it that you're, setting your pitch? What does that sound like for you?
I think that, just that comment, based in Alberta, that's an important thing. We want to see something exciting here. We have seen the economy decline in recent years, and seeing exposure to a different industry, there was a lot of interest, definitely. We found that three of the investors actually were originally from Vegreville, which is very cool. So they want to see their communities thrive. I think Albertans want to see diversification is a big thing. And the film industry, that was one of the things that we were able to bring to potential investors. It was something a little bit foreign. It was new. It wasn't an easy conversation to have, but I think if you believe in the project, if you believe in your province and the we can do this attitude, it made it achievable.
So, Darsha, you were part of the project. You saw what was going on, and you've been involved in other projects. What do you think that we should be looking at, or what do you think about Alberta and being based here?
Well, I actually kind of concur with Roseanne about, one of the challenges is the lack of crew, because when the government changed and when Alberta, in terms of film, sort of became this giant sinkhole, and God bless you for, they who surround us and bringing that here, pretty much most of the crew, the capable crew, either fled to Calgary or to BC, mostly BC. Many of the people that I worked with on several productions in the past several years have relocated, because that's where the work is. I think that Alberta could rebuild the industry that was here apparently in the 80s. It was pretty hopping, but there have to be partnerships created between the creators, between the government, between the municipalities, and real buy-ins, right? And whether it's in live theater, I've always had to be creative about fundraising, and oftentimes you get something that's donated in kind. Well, that's still a line in the budget, and coming up with creative ways for people to buy in and be producers, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That's the basic thing, and I think up until now, for me, I've perceived one of the challenges being, because of the world that I started in live theater, that there's going to be a payoff. You calculate your box office return and you hope that you have a hit show. And in my case, I've never lost money on a live production. One of the challenges is the film industry has changed somewhat, in that with all the streaming platforms, it's difficult to think about how you can monetize it, because it's like you have to have the product, the investment has to be made before the product can be sold. I mean, unless you're a big studio picture. Okay, so that's the challenge.
So that brings up something that David had talked about, and just about the exodus of the talent from the province. But also, David, you've managed to create some really unique product here in Alberta, and on top of that, you are marketing it to a global audience. So why don't you talk about that and just tell us, what has worked for you in that way, and what do you need to keep doing that here? What do you need from this province? What do you need from us to support you so that those things can continue?
I think that the main thing we need structurally is to understand that a product go out globally before it. So the biggest constraint we've always had with Alberta is that Alberta looks at it and says, well, that doesn't seem like that could be profitable globally. So I've always been off the adage, I really don't care in some ways if I run a theatrical in Alberta. I'm more interested if I get a theatrical in Germany first, or if I get a theatrical in the UK or Japan, because once I've built that kind of momentum and then I come back to Alberta with a product that was made in Alberta, they look at it and say, oh, that's nice. How come you didn't tell us about this before? But
Classic.
Because of the kind of product I make, and I only make one thing, I only really make scary movies. And there's always been this, I mean, it's 11% of the actual global film business. The last 3 Oscars have been won by scary movies. But there seems to be this disconnect that what we do, especially when we make genre films, is that it's a lesser product than, let's say, some sort of regional-based, community-oriented program or a Hallmark film, which people can wrap themselves around and understand. But the great thing about it, especially with something like, and Edmonton had this program a few years back, and this was they were thinking about doing this, is that genre is one of these great industries where we're almost going to be within about 2 years, 50% female. The majority of the directors that I hire now are female. It's a great jumping off period. It's a controlled industry in the way that even though we're 11% of the industry, we also have, we have 40 festivals that we need to do. And it's kind of weird because even though we also do mainstream festivals like Sundance, Toronto, Cannes, but the people who program for them are only programming based on our 30 festivals that you just need to get into. Also, it's easier for us globally to market ourselves because we're marketing to a set fan base. So we don't have to have that nervousness that, oh my God, what happens if we make, a $250,000 film or a $600,000 film? Are we going to have return on investment? Because I have 66 global markets that I can sell even before I even walk into, Canada and say, okay, now I need my tax credits and that, so I better go and make sure I have a broadcaster. So it's a little different for me in my industry in relationship to other industries inside film, because as long as I follow a set formula and do certain things globally, I'm going to get that idea of that you're big in Europe first and then you're big everywhere else. And that's very, very easy for us to do because we can have those relationships with the Cannes Film Festival, whereas, some little independent film that walks out of, Airdrie is going to have a harder thing because it's competing against every story that's going to have relationships with different regions. So, that little film out of Airdrie is competing with another film from Mumbai and competing with another film from Strasbourg and all of that, where I only have to compete against 200 other films globally. And as long as I compete against those 200 films globally, and I can do something better than those other 200 films, I'm going to stay roughly within the top 20% of the industry.
That's fabulous. So Roseanne, what has your experience been? You've had all kinds of different genres, and you've been involved in all types of different storytelling, and from the animations all the way into some of these very dramatic and moving pictures. What has your experience been?
Well, I've been in the industry for quite some time, almost 30 years. So my experiences have constantly been changing as the industry evolves, and what medium has become more and more popular, interesting, from going from TV movies where you have you're not worried about film festivals, TV series you're not worried about film festivals, until you have if you're competing in the Emmys or in the case of The Magician's House. So there was definitely an evolution of not just the industry, but also for myself, and adapting to what I was interested in producing. And so moving out of just the television realm into the feature film realm afforded me this opportunity to feel out what film festivals are about. So Dave talks about that quite a bit, and it's very exciting, and it's a great way to get buzz around a film that might not necessarily, if it's not a studio picture, or it's not an in-house made film by Amazon or Netflix or Fox. I used to do a lot of films for Fox Family Channel. So the evolution of the industry even, I think, has actually been good for Canadian producers, because we do have the support of Telefilm when you are accepted into these film festivals. For instance, when Tucker and Dale versus Evil was accepted into Sundance, we had this amazing support from Telefilm. It was shocking to me. It was so tremendous. And you don't really feel that when you're dealing in TV, to be honest. But, and then with They Who Surround Us, we've had a really nice showing at the Edmonton International Film Festival, and it's a beautiful film. We haven't, obviously we just delivered it about a month ago, and so time will tell how that works out. But yeah, the using film festivals as a marketing tool is a really wise thing to do with feature films. And I think that every province needs to support the marketing of those films, so that you're showing off the province. So with Alberta, you're showing off the environment of Alberta with the films we did. And Tucker and Dale was shot in Alberta too. So absolutely, people are getting a taste for where you've shot it, and there's always interest in the location. I know that when I'm watching a film, I'm always curious to know, oh, where was that shot? Half the time it's Bulgaria or Romania or somewhere. But yeah, it's a good film festival is definitely a good marketing tool for the industry.
Okay, so Janice, I want to put this in front of you. So if you were an economic development officer and you are trying to, bring this industry to the town or the municipality, how would you go about attracting investors, and what would you be saying to them as part of, the return on any investment that the town was willing to make?
So I think, just speaking from the experience with They Who Surround Us, Vegreville really opened their arms and their doors to our crew, to the staff that came out there. And I think they saw what it could do for the town. It's not only putting the town on the map, raising awareness of what's there, but it's also showing that you can support it. There was a lot of job creation. So the restaurants were a lot busier. The hotels were a lot busier. If I was an economic development officer, I think it was more of, again, that can-do attitude. There are resources, there's ways to do things. Airbnb has changed the way that accommodations work. This is an opportunity for the people within the town. It's an opportunity to diversify. It's an opportunity to raise awareness. And I think that for myself, it's, even personally getting involved with this film, it was an opportunity that I hadn't really thought of before, but it was a wonderful opportunity. It opened doors for me. The other thing that happened was projects started to come my way as opposed to me looking for projects. So I think the understanding within the town of what can we build off of this. It doesn't just end once the production is completed. We're going to continue to work with Vegreville. There's a greater awareness of Vegreville. The tourism can increase as well. All of those things that you can showcase about your town. This has brought like your where you're living to the big screen and to such a huge audience.
Great. So Darsha, you have some personal opinions about, going into these towns and the kind of investment that was required, or the kind of return on that investment that was made. What do you think?
Well, I think actually I concur with Janice that what happens is there's an influx of cash right away into the local economy because there are people dining in restaurants, staying in hotels. There's also another part that it's the town gets bragging rights. When the picture hits the screen or becomes known, they can have a sense of pride about having been involved. I mean, I remember back in the day, I think I was still very young, but I remembered seeing Roxanne, the movie with Steve Martin, and it was set in Nelson, and I deliberately took a trip to Nelson because Nelson was so charming on the screen. And, there are other films that I've basically done the same thing, which is where I wanted to go, I must visit that place, So my thing is, why isn't Alberta Tourism, for instance, handing bags of cash to Alberta-based production? I mean, especially when it looks as beautiful as the cinematography in They Who Surround Us. So
That's great. So okay, you guys, we've got a few more minutes here, and then we're going to wrap it up. But I want to give you the opportunity right now, David. You're up next. What is that one message that you want everyone to hear? Go ahead, David.
One question is about economic development. If you look at High River over the last 10 years, they've made almost $150 million just on having Heartland in their town. So there's a lot of great opportunity for small towns in Alberta. The right series comes in, and I mean, these are numbers, that 150 is CMPA numbers. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. If you're an economic development officer in a small town in rural Alberta and you think you have the best picturesque town, you could have a brand new industry by having some small Netflix series or some small Canadian series. I mean, Heartland started out as just a small CBC series, and now suddenly it's now a global phenomenon.
So, David, how do they go about finding those projects? How do they go about getting those people aware of where they are? How do they do that?
I can't speak for Heartland myself because I'm not part of the production team off there, but I do know that basically what happened is that you have this beloved TV series, and I mean, the prime example of this is Prince Edward Island. I mean, every series that has ever been created about Anne of Green Gables has now become almost an economy to itself. People want to go, so whenever a new series happens, I want to see where those locations are. People going to locations because of their beloved TV show is actually a more popular thing that is happening more and more. Even in my genre, there's lots of people who want to go see the Black Christmas house in Toronto, or they want to go look at the apartment buildings in Montreal. There's this weird connect that people have with their entertainment products, where in a small town that has a popular product could theoretically have that as a new industry for the small town. And
well, case in point,
big town.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. The Sound of Music, okay? They have Sound of Music tours in Austria. I've never been on one, but it was very popular with every American. And they have been running for what? When was that movie made? 1965. So it's like over 60 years of Sound of Music tours. There's a whole industry built around the Sound of Music.
So Roseanne, you've been trying to bring some projects and some series to the Alberta. What have you found? What's the response been for you?
For me, I think a lot of the towns and even Edmonton needs to promote what's available. In Vancouver, people actually will send photos of their property to the film commissioner and to be used as a location. I think people need to be educated to do that. If you've got beautiful lakefront property or mountain scenery, there's a TV series I'm working with a German co-producer on, and we want to shoot in a mountain town. And so obviously for me, my two backyards are Alberta and BC. So, whoever offers the best sort of infrastructure for us to shoot there, and building a TV series, as David was saying, you have Heartland, it builds a massive industry in the place it's shot, and is a huge boon for the economy. So, for us, it's a matter of, the locations, where can we get permits to shoot? Will crew be willing to go and work there? How far away is it from home? Do you have the support of, in the case of a series, you've got to have the support of the unions. Because, with a TV series, especially when it's starting off, in your first season, you probably, with a co-production, you probably have, in our case, it'll be a German broadcaster and a Canadian broadcaster before anybody else is sold on it. So, you might go first season before any other countries are picking it up for a broadcast license. So you've got a limited amount of money. So you really do need cooperation from, the places you're shooting, from the unions, from the government. And if you're going to shoot in a TV series, you need to be guaranteed that those tax credits are coming in, because your whole budget is based on that, or it'll just shut down. There's nowhere else to get money to build something like that. Feature films are a little bit different, but a TV series, this is at least a commitment for 6 episodes, and usually more, usually 9 to 13.
Okay. So one final message. What do you want to say? What do you want people to know? I'm going to start with Janice, move to Darsha, Roseanne, and then David, you're going to wrap it up. So Janice, what's that final message you want them to hear today?
I think just from my own involvement, from the town of Vegreville's involvement, from the investors' involvement, for many of the investors, it was the first time they were involved in a film, is to be open, to be excited, and to be entrepreneurial. And you're going to have such a wonderful, exciting experience that will build.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Janice. But I also just want to pipe up and say that, BC, the figure is what, 3.4 billion in revenue from the film industry alone in that province. Alberta, there's an opportunity. Retrain all the people that are out of work in the oil sands. That's my philosophy.
Pivot. Okay, Roseanne.
I agree with Darsha. There are such talented people in Alberta who could easily transition into the film industry, especially from oil and gas. And, there's absolutely, educational opportunities transitioning into the film industry, especially if people have a good work ethic. You've got to have that in the film industry. You're working 12 hours a day minimum. And have a strong tax credit program, and don't be wishy-washy about it. Make sure that you're supporting, first and foremost, Canadian production, interprovincial co-pros, and international co-productions. Don't build a model around the service industry. And I think that's what's happening. I know Dave's touched on that as well. Mm-hmm. And have a tiered tax credit system. I mean, I know I'm focusing on the tax credits a lot, but it's really important to have a tax credit system in order to, lure films and productions to Alberta, because the rest of the country has them. And, a training tax credit is also, something that BC has done for years, and introduced very early on when, we didn't have a big industry in BC. It was there, it just wasn't huge. And when it comes to tiered tax credits, have a larger tax credit for Canadian production, and have a smaller tax credit for studio productions that are service, where the Alberta company is a service provider. Those are studio productions. They've already got money behind them.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I just had this idea too. When you're inviting foreign investment, like say from LA or wherever from the US to come and shoot in Alberta, and, one idea is, in the Hollywood system, I remember hearing a story about Martin Scorsese, how the studio would finance 4 pictures. He could do 3 that he wanted, but I remember the story went that when he made Cape Fear, he made Cape Fear so that he could make Casino. So maybe those people that are coming to shoot here need to give something back. Maybe a thing could be structured where they do 3 pictures, or they do film a series here, but they have to actually invest or entertain the idea of doing a co-pro with a Canadian producer with Canadian content. That's just spitballing here, but that was an idea I had. There has to be a caveat, quid pro quo. Yeah. It's not enough for them to just come and dump money here. There has to be a little bit, they have to give a little more, I think.
So David, it's final up to you. What do you want everyone to know?
Alberta is one of the most amazing and diverse places to shoot. In 2019, we did close to about $250 million worth of business in Alberta. We have an ability within the next year or two to get to $1 billion. That could really change how the Alberta industry actually, even, you know, in relationship, we are effectively the third most important industry in Alberta right now under oil and agriculture. We have this amazing opportunity to not waste what we did in the 80s when Alicom was producing some of the most amazing programming that you could imagine in Edmonton. We have this ability to do something truly amazing and revitalize our economy and take us into the 21st century. And I mean, we have locations. We have locations that Georgia cannot offer. We have locations that Louisiana cannot offer. We have locations that Toronto can offer. We need to exploit, the same ways we exploit with the oil industry, the natural resources of this province. We should be exploiting the ability to go out there and say, hey, you need to do a winter film. There's only one place in the world you should be even thinking of doing winter films. You want to replicate the Midwest of the United States? Come to Alberta. But you're going to take part of your staff and you're going to train Alberta talent. That means that, you know, your line producer has to come from Alberta. That means that you have to have so many associate producers that have to come out of Alberta. Maybe a couple of your execs have to come out of Alberta. And I think if we start thinking in these terms, that let's maximize, you know, next year, we're going to see Ghostbusters 2020 or 2021, whatever that will be. And the amount of buzz that will give to Alberta is insane. But are we as a province ready to promote that, especially in the film markets like AFM, EFM, Berlinale, Cannes, where we're saying, hey, come to Alberta, but when you come to Alberta, you got to have a 50-50 team split. And that's going to build our industry. That's going to help with there's stuff happening right now with the Edmonton Screen Industries, where they're trying to fix things. They have they're building a location catalog, which will be the first time anybody in Alberta will have one of those. There's some private talks about film school, a film school to build that next generation there. There's talks about, you know, Netflix up until last year was seriously thinking about building a studio in Calgary. There is lots of opportunities for investment. There's lots of opportunities to make some of the best product globally. And we have the power to just do it. We just have to use that maverick spirit that we've always had in Alberta and just say, hey, film is going to be our business. It's not going to be Ontario's business. It's not going to be BC's business. It's our business. And we're just going to take it.
Well, that is awesome. I just want to thank you all for being here today and just having such a great conversation. We're going to be moving into a Q&A session, which will be live. So if any of you out there in the conference have any questions or anything that you want to address to each one of our guests today, you'll have the number on the screen, and we'll be waiting to talk to you. Thank you again for everyone being a part of this. This was really great, and I really appreciate you giving the time. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Deirdre, Janice, Ryan, and Roseanne for your presentation today. And thank you for Luke and Calgary Economic Development for being our sponsors for today's session. And I'd like to invite you to join us in the Zoom room for some live Q&A. All you have to do is click on the link on your screen, and we'll see you there.